Long legal road just beginning for thousands of veterans exposed to toxic water at a military base in North Carolina. For the past 2 years, we have tracked the efforts of a Central Kentucky man trying to help his fellow Marines.
A new law allows them to sue the U.S. government for their exposure and the decades-long cover-up, but it's also left them vulnerable to predatory practices by some attorneys. In this WKYT Investigates update, as Garrett Weimer reports, advocates disagree on the best way to address those problems.
The motion is agreed to.
Brian Ambergy of Winchester was relieved when Congress passed the Honoring Our Pact Act last year.
It's took such a load off my shoulders, my wife's shoulders, and a lot of people here in Kentucky.
The law includes provisions from the Camp Lejeune Justice Act, allowing veterans like Ambergy exposed to toxic water at the base to seek relief in court. But some festering problems have advocates and lawmakers now pushing for some changes.
Even before its passage, we saw a million different advertisements across every media stream. It was in newspapers, it was on radio ads, Facebook ads. I still get emails to this day.
Amid a crush of what advocates call predatory advertising preying on veteran victims, multiple bills have been filed to cap attorneys' fees for the cases. Proposals have ranged from as low as 2 to 10% to as high as 20 to 33%. The American Legion supports a bill co-sponsored by Senator Mitch McConnell that would cap fees at 12 to 17%.
For 34 years, they were exposed to toxic water. They were denied justice. They were denied the ability to get medical attention for these ailments that were directly caused from the water. And now, decades later, when they're finally able to sue the United States government, attorneys come out of the woodwork to once again prey on our nation's best. And that's why the American Legion is putting their full weight behind legislation to ensure there's a cap on these contingency fees.
For comparison, the Federal Tort Claims Act caps attorneys' fees at 20 to 25%.
They always want to beat up on us, but we're the ones that are out there fighting, making change. And actually, without us, this change would never have occurred.
Ed Bell, a South Carolina lawyer who pushed for the Camp Lejeune Justice Act, opposes the proposed fee caps. He says it's the wrong way to fix a very real problem.
We have seen some scurrilous advertising and some outright misleading advertising. I think every one of those ought to be investigated by the Federal Trade Commission. The statute's already in place.
Bell says capping fees leaves veterans who would need expensive studies done to prove their cases especially vulnerable to being dropped by their attorneys. For his part, Ambergy says he's concerned veterans could face an unfair battle in court.
It'll be attorneys that, like, they've graduated from Sesame Street School of Law, and it would be like me being my grandson's soccer team going up against the Kansas City Chiefs.
So far, at least 20,000 administrative claims have been filed under the Camp Lejeune Justice Act. Garrett Weimer, WKYT.
Well, victims exposed to the toxic water have until August of 2024 to file a claim.